Our next speaker is Ms. Leslie Hosgood. Did I say that right?
Yes.
All right. Okay. She's a social studies teacher in her 10th year at Olentangy Orange High School. 10th year.
10th
All
year.
right. Where she teaches sociology, criminal and civil law, and economics, and she also has experience with teacher travel opportunities during the summer. I see the travel theme here, right? She holds a BS and Master's in Education from Ohio State, so please welcome Ms. Leslie Hosgood.
Do I have any former students out there? No, nobody loved my class enough to be a Miss Renee, I guess. This is sad. So I'm Leslie Hosgood. I've been teaching for 10 years, or I'm in my 10th year now. I'm kind of an anomaly among a lot of my friends because I've had the same job since I graduated, where I feel like I have a lot of friends that have shifted careers, moved, done all kinds of things. I've been in Columbus now for a while. If you guys are unfamiliar with Olentangy, it's around Polaris area, just north of here, and it's a fast-growing district. We just opened up our 4th high school, which is kind of a big deal around here. And I am at the 3rd high school that was opened in 2008. And when it comes down to teaching, I'm guessing a lot of you guys maybe have thought about teaching, because that's kind of the common thing that we think about if we have a history class that we loved. It's like, oh, maybe I can do this, maybe I can be a teacher. So I'll be as honest about the great things about my job, but then some of the not so great things when it comes to trying to find a career in education. The first not so great thing kind of relates to my process into this. I got really lucky, and there are lots of teachers and lots of education majors and lots of people who go through the master's program that don't find jobs, or can only find part-time jobs, or it's not ideal in terms of what they're teaching and what their administrators are. I got very lucky with mine. So I graduated undergrad in 2008, and I went through the suggested programs of major in history, minor in geography, took economics, sociology courses. Somehow I didn't have to take any psychology. I don't know if I should have at some point, but I got my degree anyway. But there was the social studies courses that were expected to take. So I went through and did all those steps there, lots of American history. Didn't take as many of the non-Western history classes as I would have liked, but went through all of that. Took my GRE, got into the grad school here. And at that time it was expected, and they kind of pushed you into 4-year undergrad and then a year of the master's program. From what I understand, that's not necessarily as pushed anymore. It is possible to go into teaching right after getting a 4-year degree. Completing the requirements to get your teacher's license is possible. I feel very fortunate that I did do my master's at that time, although paying the student loans back is not great. But going through that right away, I enjoyed doing the master's program right after, because that was my 5th year here at OSU, and I was really happy to stay here on campus. And we were 5-0 against Michigan while I was here, so it was a good span of 5 years, and I really enjoyed it. I wasn't ready to leave, so I was happy for that. And then as far as, was that a good career move for me? I think it was. When I was interviewing at Olentangy, one of the things that they had mentioned is that if a student had their master's, as most of you guys probably know, they have to pay you more. Usually on the pay scale, that's worth more, so sometimes they shy away from it. But from my experience, they told me that they wanted somebody who had a master's specifically from Ohio State, that was something that they saw as a plus on my application. That was something that did actually help me. The idea of having to pay more was kind of offset by, hey, this person has gone through the master's program and it was well respected. So that was a good move. And then also I have friends and colleagues who didn't get their master's right away and have to go back and do that. And a lot of them are, I don't want this to come off as the wrong way, but a lot of them are taking courses and programs that they're not really into. They're just doing it to get the credit for it, and they're just, here, take my money, give me my certificate, and that's it. Where I feel like going through the program here at Ohio State, I actually learned a lot. I was with a lot of people who were very passionate about education, and we met quite often, so I got to know those people instead of just doing a correspondence course or something online where I didn't really get that personal connection. So the master's program was a really good fit for me. Whereas a lot of the teachers that I talk to, it's just like something to check off as far as their master's goes, and it seems like they're not getting as much out of it that I did from mine. So from my personal experience, the master's was a good choice, that they liked to see that I had the master's, and then I really enjoyed the program here at OSU. And then with graduating 2009, career prospects across the board were not good in 2009, so as soon as I got the offer from Olentangy, I jumped on it right away. I was very, very fortunate to get a full-time job offer in Columbus with a really great school district. That was something that not a lot of people got in 2009, so I went with it, and with the kind of luck and timing, it was the second year that building was open, Orange High School, so they were hiring 4 teachers, so I kind of got in at the right time too. So a lot of applying for teaching jobs, it sometimes does come down to luck, getting in at the right time, having maybe a background that they're looking for. Coaching helps. I used to coach softball, and they weren't necessarily hiring a softball coach, but having that experience working with kids was huge. So I do recommend coaching. I've sat in on our hiring where they've specifically told us, like, we need to hire a wrestling coach. Like, that is it. And it makes me a little sad because it's like you have to narrow down the pool so much, so maybe you're missing out on some of the great candidates. It's a little frustrating, but at the same time, having some sort of coaching background or some sort of background in an extracurricular, a lot of school districts do like to see that and know that they can put you in there, especially they like to do that to younger teachers of like, hey, take all this on. You don't have anything else going on in your life, so here, coach all these things and be advisor of every club imaginable. So having that experience and then also being open to taking on those responsibilities can be very helpful. So if you are thinking about maybe a career in education, I would recommend trying to get into some sort of program, something to help kids so you have that you can share. We also love when teachers have some sort of unique perspective or a different background. Teachers who have military service, I love working with teachers who have military service, having that kind of makes a candidate stand out. Also experience teaching overseas and teaching other places. When I was in undergrad, I went and taught at a school for deaf and blind children in Australia. So that was something that made me seem like, a little unique. I had a different story. So something that maybe a teaching experience or something that is different and a different background or a different perspective that maybe changes the way you approach teaching history can be really helpful when it comes to setting yourself apart as far as the interview process goes. But some of it unfortunately comes down to luck when you're looking for jobs and the timing there. And with teaching, I do love it. There are some things that are not my favorite when it comes to the job. Parent phone calls are never fun, and testing is always changing, and it's always just a pain to go through and understand what the new expectation is and when we're testing and when we're not, and what subjects are tested and what aren't. But that's all stuff that's kind of beyond my control. For the most part, with my job, I have a lot of autonomy, and that's really important to me. I've taught all kinds of classes from world history and U.S. history, but I've taken on sociology, which is my baby, and I love it. Criminal and civil law, which is an interesting elective class, and then I just took on economics. And the thing about being a history major that helps is I have to teach myself a lot. I didn't take a lot of economics classes, like financial literacy. I'm learning finally for myself right now. So you have to do a lot of research with the topics. I mean, even being a history major, teaching U.S. history, when I got AP U.S. history, I was just trying to stay a step ahead of the students. I felt like I should know this and I should be able to teach this, but I was constantly learning, constantly spending a lot of time looking for resources so that I understood what I was saying when I was going to teach them. So it's a little bit of a different side, but the plus of that is that I get to learn history all the time, and I get to work with colleagues that love history, and so that's really great. And thinking about yourself in a classroom, and when you had a really great lesson or a teacher that taught you something that was you had a professor that had this really interesting way that they presented information or just a new, different perspective, and you had that moment. You get to replicate that with students, which is really cool. So seeing them have those realizations is pretty great, and especially when you're teaching content that I really love, like I do. And then the travel opportunities, the biggest thing for teachers, you guys are probably aware, summers off is great. I have spent most of my summers, though, taking classes, doing things, writing lots of papers and doing things for graduate level classes. So it's not all fun and games. A lot of teachers have other summer jobs as well. But travel is great, and there are a lot of options for teachers to sign up for programs. I went to Istanbul for a month, partially with a partial stipend to learn about history of Ottoman Empire and modern Turkey, and that was amazing. Went to Germany a couple years ago for a 2-week program there. I applied to one in Japan this summer that I find out next week, so I hope that I'm able to do that. So there are lots of opportunities for teachers. I've done some seminars in the U.S., about a week in Boulder, Colorado. That was amazing. Last year I was in Durham, North Carolina, learning about Middle East history. So that's one of the great things, that I can travel on my own. I'm actually going to Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. I just booked a trip there, yeah. That's fun, that's not school related. So booking, fun things. I spent a month in India and Australia last summer, so I get that, where I have a lot of friends that don't have those opportunities. On the flip side, though, I don't get a lot of time off during the year. So, I've had friends that went to Germany for Oktoberfest, and I couldn't join because I can't take time off. So it's a little frustrating to not be able to travel when you want, but then you get those big chunks of time off, which are really great to travel. If you can get a friend or somebody to go with you, which may be hard for their jobs, but those opportunities are there, and that's probably one of the biggest perks of my job, of being able to do that. And then just doing history all day is pretty cool, and we're history majors because we love it, and it's great every day that I get to share history, maybe with students who don't always love it, but hopefully they love a part of it, or they get more of an appreciation for it, and it's kind of cool to get to do that every day. So really enjoy it. Does anybody have any questions about the process? Keeping in mind, I went through the actual steps a while ago, so I don't know what they're recommending necessarily as far as now, but any questions about that? Was that a hand? Yeah, go ahead. I'm kind of good at recognizing the half hand at this point, yeah.
In terms of the prescribed set of courses you took, is that specifically for OSU's master's program or for other schools in general?
So when it came to the master's program here, there was a really set of curriculum that we had to take, and there were 18 of us in my cohort, and we all took the same classes at the same time, progressed at the same pace. So there wasn't a lot of choice in terms of when you're an undergrad, and you have to take a general umbrella of a type of history, and you get to kind of pick and choose, and there are lots of options. The master's course was very tailored to, we take this course all together, then we take this one, and we all work through the process together. So it's not as much freedom in undergrad. But with the master's program too, the best thing for me was the relationships with the people I was with. I also had a student teaching experience in a Columbus City school that I absolutely love, which is different than Olentangy, which in general is a pretty affluent area. So I got a different group of kids, and I loved going to the city school every day. I had stories for days. It was really interesting, and when I had good lessons, they really landed with the kids that were there at that school. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, set curriculum for masters.
Other questions? So the study tours, or the study trips that you were taking, were these, some of them at least, National Endowment for the Humanities program?
That was the Istanbul one, which unfortunately they stopped doing the international ones a couple of years ago, and then during the shutdown they weren't taking any applications for any of them. So I think that those are back up and running, but they're in a limited capacity than they were years ago, unfortunately, with cutbacks.
They are. I did a couple of those here. I actually did a couple of Central Asian summer institutes for teachers right here in Columbus. So we're studying all the way over in things of Central Asian interest, but right here in Columbus.
Yeah,
So
we've
bringing
I've gotten them too.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
So they are, they're
Well,
really
and
fun.
I did NCTA here
Okay.
too. Yeah, so
Good.
OSU also offers a lot of outreach stuff for teachers. So I've gone to several conferences here. The Slavic department in particular offers a lot of opportunities for teachers. So it's pretty great that I didn't get to take as many history classes as I wanted as an undergrad. But now I get to kind of come back on campus sometimes and go through those. I'm actually going to one run by Gilder Lerman, you're
Yeah.
familiar with, about World War I on Saturday. So I get to just sit in a room and learn about World War I from professors, so it's really cool. My friends don't get it, but it's like, it makes me really excited to sit in a room and hear about, and it's free lunch, so even better.
And they come for continuing ed, right?
Yes, yeah, and as a teacher, there is an expectation that you have a certain number of continuing education credits in order to renew your license, and if you're somebody who loves to learn and take advantage of opportunities, it's super easy. I mean, just going to Germany, I think I had like 300 and some hours, and you need, I don't know, what is it, like 20? So it's really easy if you're somebody who just loves to learn. Teaching's a good fit for that because there are lots of opportunities to keep learning and keep challenging yourself and keep finding out new stuff. Yeah.
I was just curious about like your friends and like to what extent coaching is important for a history education.
Yeah, and I think history in particular gets the reputation of like the coach that wheels in the TV and presses play, and has you do worksheets. So in my experience at my department, it depends on who your principal is. It depends on the administration, because one of our former principals, his motto was like, I'll pick whoever the best fit is for the building. We now have principals that are like, you guys pick the best one for your department. So when it's like the best fit for your building needs are different than your department needs. And so you kind of lose that sense of choosing the best fit for your department if, hey, we need a wrestling coach. We've also had, we need a football coach. We need a lacrosse coach. So sometimes that gets thrown in the mix, and I think it depends on who the administrators are and how much weight they put on those positions. I personally don't think really coaching had any weight on mine, except the fact that I could show, I have evidence that, hey, I work with kids and I build these relationships with kids, and I've been doing this now for a while. So that was the benefit for me, but like they weren't looking for a JV softball coach. So I just kind of happened to be in that role.
Any additional questions right now? Okay, well, thank you very much, Leslie.